if we think through measurement, right, we think through right now, I mean, healthcare tends to measure performance, I think, so siloed. Plans measure plans, providers measure providers. And we keep hitting on a lot of the biggest pain points happen during these handoffs, these transitions. So, interested on your thoughts. Do you think plans and providers should somehow be measured together in some way? Jason, I'll let you take that one first.
I know Amber saw it on this one as well, but I mean, yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, if we believe a system should operate as a system, I mean, that's the biggest misnomer, right? In U.S. healthcare is that we have a system, right? They should. I mean, there should be a level of shared accountability. I mean, I understand the need to assess and evaluate each segment of the system for how they're performing around their tasks, but I mean the ultimate outcomes is like we said, is sort of the ease of the journey. I love what you talked about, Amber, right? Clarity, confidence, not having to repeat yourself. They know you. You're empowered to act. They fundamentally leave you with trust. There you go. There's your questions, right? That if
Yeah.
you could ask people about their journey and every person on that step of the journey was responsible for those things being done well, imagine how different it would be. That means that what we talked about before, the gaps that existed would be the first place they would work together to fix, right? And so I would love somebody to make that call. That here in the United States is a policy decision, and there'd be a lot of pressure never to move in that direction. And there is right now because everyone's operating in independent, operating models with their own P&Ls and their own need to drive either volume or membership rate and volume of members. I mean, so the incentives right now for those pieces and parts of the system aren't aligned either. And so until those can be aligned, measuring them collectively is going to be challenging. So I think there's a piece even before on how do we begin to find the right incentives for what success looks like in our healthcare system. Use that word again, right? So that we can measure back to, I think, the really brilliant points that Amber was talking about before.
I agree.
Agreed, entirely. I mean, when we're thinking about how to understand this shared experience, we need to start thinking about it at that aggregated level, at that humanistic level. And then, of course, there's going to be ways of cascading how we can each control and bear influence. But ultimately, it shouldn't just be anchored on these scores around moments of care, but ultimately, Jason, as you mentioned, around the experiences we're trying to drive more holistically. So the trust, right, component, the confidence component, the health outcomes component. How is this relationship existing? And within healthcare, there's been a historical reliance on CAPS programs and benchmarking for those CAPS programs. There's a lot of focus on how I compare to others, but the reality is these systems, these health plans, they have nuanced populations that they serve. And so their focus and strategy should be anchored around how they're driving health in the community that they are serving. And I think back to my work within a nonprofit health system, and one of the responsibilities of a nonprofit health system is they have to have a community health improvement plan, right? And every 3 years, they're evaluating the impact on how they're driving improvements of the particular community that they serve. And that feels like such a better aligned practice. So you're having an assessment of the population you serve, the humans you serve, and then developing a plan specific to that audience. So it's less focused on what we're doing across the nation, and it's more focused on the community that you're responsible for.